But with that realization came another question. What if the Foundation didn't need her to lead? What if it already had a new puppet to control? She needed answers, and fast. She had to get out of here before it was too late. With a surge of adrenaline, Jessica made her move. She turned and ran, dodging past the men blocking the door. Her heart was pounding in her chest, and her mind was racing. She had to escape, but she couldn't do it alone. Back at the mansion, Jessica tried to piece together what she had learned. The Foundation was real, and it was more dangerous than she could have imagined. It wasn't just about business deals or wealth, it was about control, about shaping the world according to a hidden agenda. And now, she was the key to unlocking it all. Her father's death had been no accident. It had been a deliberate move to set the stage for her to take over the Foundation. But why? Why had Marcus trusted her with this monstrous legacy? As Jessica sat in her office, her fingers hovering over the keys of her laptop, she hesitated. The encrypted files her father had left behind were just a click away, but she knew that once she opened them, there would be no turning back. The Foundation's secrets would be laid bare, and with them, her father's true intentions. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was a message from Lucas. "I know what you're trying to do, Jessica. But you're making a mistake. You have no idea what you're getting into. The Foundation isn't what you think it is. Stay away from it." Her grip tightened on the phone. Lucas had known. He had known all along, but why had he tried to stop her? Was it because he truly cared for her, or was it because he was trying to keep her from uncovering the truth? She needed to find him, she needed to confront him, to get the answers that only he could provide. But as she prepared to leave, she realized with a chilling certainty that the game was no longer just about family or inheritance. It was about something much bigger, and the more she uncovered, the more she realized how deep the rabbit hole went. Jessica stood at the crossroads, her future uncertain, her past in pieces. But one thing was clear. She was now a player in a game where the stakes were higher than she could ever have imagined. And the more she uncovered about the Foundation, the more dangerous it became. She was no longer just an heir to a fortune, she was the key to a shadow empire, one that had the power to shape the future. But whether she would control it, or be consumed by it, remained to be seen. The rain lashed against the windows as Jessica sat in the dimly lit room, the only sound the rhythmic tapping of water against glass. Her mind was a storm of confusion, her heart racing with questions that had no easy answers. Every new revelation had only pulled her deeper into the labyrinth of her father's hidden empire, a world she wasn't sure she was ready to confront. But now, there was no turning back. The Foundation had a grip on her, a grip that tightened with each passing day. She had learned more about the shadow organization, but every step forward only seemed to reveal another layer of darkness. And now, just as she thought she might be gaining control, a new message had arrived, one that shattered everything she thought she knew. "You don't understand, Jessica, the Foundation was never just about control. It's about survival, and you are not as safe as you think. The game has changed, and you're no longer its player. You're its pawn." The words lingered in the air like a haunting echo. Pawn? Jessica's fingers trembled as she clutched the phone, staring at the cryptic message. Who had sent it? Why now? And what did it mean that she was no longer in control of her own destiny? The world outside seemed to blur as her thoughts spiraled. The Foundation had been hidden in plain sight, operating like a dark web behind the scenes of her father's empire. It was no longer just a business venture. It was a force that could topple governments, destroy families, and reshape the world itself. But now, someone was telling her she was nothing more than a pawn in a much larger game, a game that had been set in motion long before she ever knew it existed. Jessica's mind raced. Who could be behind this? Who would dare to challenge her now, after everything that had happened? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sudden ringing of the phone, breaking the eerie silence in the room. She jumped, the unexpected sound making her pulse spike. Her heart was already in overdrive, but this new tension only heightened her sense of unease. With shaking hands, she answered. Jessica, the voice on the other end was familiar, but the tone was colder than she had ever heard it. Lucas, she said, her voice trembling, though she tried to keep her composure. What is this? Who is behind these messages? Why is everything falling apart? There was a long pause before Lucas finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't want it to come to this, Jessica. But you need to understand something. The Foundation is bigger than us, bigger than anyone. And it's not going to let you walk away. Jessica's mind was spinning. What are you talking about? Why didn't you tell me? All this time, you've been lying to me, and now you want me to trust you. Lucas's voice cracked, a rare sign of emotion breaking through the cold exterior he usually presented. It's not that simple, it never was. You think I've been hiding things from you, but you're wrong. I was trying to protect you. Jessica's grip tightened around the phone as her blood boiled. Protect me? By lying to me? By keeping me in the dark? You think you can just protect me from the truth? Lucas let out a slow breath, the weight of the situation pressing on him. I never wanted you to be part of this, Jessica. I never wanted you to get involved in the Foundation. But you've already made your choice. The truth is, you don't have a way out now. A cold chill ran down Jessica's spine as his words hit her like a slap. What do you mean, I don't have a way out? The line went silent, and for a moment, Jessica wondered if Lucas had hung up. But then he spoke again, his voice dark and filled with an intensity she had never heard before. Because if you try to fight this, if you try to escape, they'll come for you. They've already set their sights on you, and no one will be able to stop them. You're not just in danger, Jessica, you're a target. The phone call ended abruptly, leaving Jessica in a haze of confusion and fear. She stood there for a moment, the weight of Lucas's words sinking in. Her entire world was unraveling, and the more she learned, the more she realized just how deep she had gotten herself into. Was Lucas trying to warn her, or was he simply trying to cover his own tracks? Could she trust him, or had she been played from the very beginning? She ran her fingers through her hair, trying to steady her breathing. The one thing she had learned in all of this was that nothing was as it seemed. The Foundation was far more than an organization, it was a machine, an unstoppable force, and Jessica was at the center of it all. But just as she thought she might find some peace of mind, another message arrived on her phone. Her heart skipped a beat as she read it. You've been warned, Jessica. We're watching you. Suddenly, Jessica's phone buzzed again, this time with a news alert. Her breath caught in her throat as she read the headline. Billionaire Marcus Barrington's daughter found dead in apparent suicide. Her vision blurred as her mind tried to process what she was seeing. The article detailed her supposed death in gruesome detail, and the authorities were already calling it a suicide. The words felt like a cruel joke, a sickening twist in the game she had unwittingly become a part of. But she knew this wasn't just some random coincidence. This was part of the plan. They were coming for her. She immediately sprang into action, scrambling for her things. She couldn't stay in the mansion any longer. Whoever was behind the Foundation, whoever had orchestrated her father's death, was now making their move against her. She wasn't sure who she could trust anymore, but one thing was certain, she had to leave. With the sound of her footsteps pounding on the marble floors, Jessica rushed out of the mansion. Her heart raced, her breath coming in shallow gasps. She had to disappear. She had to get to the truth before it was too late. But as she stepped into the night air, a chilling realization washed over her. She wasn't alone. The headlights of a black car flashed in the distance, pulling up to the driveway. Before she could react, two figures stepped out of the car, moving swiftly toward her. She recognized them instantly, two of the men who had been part of her father's inner circle, the ones who had always been by his side. They were the last people she ever expected to be involved in this. "You don't have to do this," Jessica said, her voice shaking, but firm. "You can still walk away." "Just let me go," one of the men smiled coldly, his eyes devoid of any emotion. "You're in over your head, Jessica. There's no way out now. The Foundation is in motion, and you're going to play your part whether you like it or not." Jessica took a step back, her pulse racing. The danger was real now, more than ever before. They weren't here to help her. They were here to silence her, but she wasn't going down without a fight. In a split second, Jessica turned and bolted down the street, her mind focused only on escape. She didn't know where she was running, but she knew she couldn't stay here. She had to make it to the one place where she might find the answers, where she could finally confront the truth about her father's legacy and the Foundation that had controlled their lives for so long. Her feet hit the pavement with urgency, her breath coming in ragged bursts. She could hear the sound of footsteps behind her, growing louder. The men were chasing her. They weren't going to let her escape, but just as the world seemed to close in on her, a car screeched to a halt in front of her, blocking her path. The door swung open, and she saw Lucas's face staring at her from the driver's seat. "Get in," he shouted. For a moment, Jessica hesitated. She couldn't trust him, not anymore. But the danger was too real, and her instinct for survival kicked in. She dove into the car, slamming the door shut behind her. The engine roared to life, and the car sped off into the night. As they drove through the dark streets, Jessica tried to steady her breathing. She was shaken, but alive, for now. Lucas didn't speak, but his face was tense, his eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds. They were being followed. "What's happening, Lucas?" Jessica asked, her voice raw with emotion. "Who are they? What do they want with me?" Lucas's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. "They're part of the Foundation, and they want to keep you under their control. But you're not just a pawn, Jessica, you're the key." Jessica turned to him, her heart in her throat. "What do you mean?" Lucas glanced at her briefly before focusing back on the road. "I'm trying to protect you, but there's more to this than just survival. You have to understand the Foundation is more powerful than you can imagine, and it's already too late to stop it." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The Foundation had already won, but Jessica refused to give up. Not yet. She had to fight back. The screeching of tires echoed through the night as Jessica clung to the seat, her heart pounding in her chest. The world outside the car seemed to blur in a haze of darkness, but inside, the tension was unbearable. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being hunted, that someone, or something, was watching their every move. Lucas had been driving at top speed, his face taut with concentration, as he weaved in and out of traffic. She had no idea where they were going or how much time they had left. All she knew was that her life had just entered its most dangerous chapter. She stole a glance at Lucas. His jaw was clenched, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, and his eyes flickered nervously in the rearview mirror. "Are you going to tell me what's really happening?" Jessica demanded, her voice sharp despite the fear gnawing at her insides. Lucas didn't look at her, but his lips tightened. "I told you, Jessica, you're not safe. The Foundation has been waiting for you to make a move. They want you alive or dead. It doesn't matter to them. But either way, they will stop at nothing to control you." Her mind raced, every word feeling like a punch to the gut. You think they'll stop at nothing?" she asked, the bitterness in her voice cutting through the tension. "What does that even mean? Why me? What do they want from me?" Lucas's grip tightened on the wheel, his voice low but urgent. "They want you to lead them, Jessica. Your father knew this day would come. He created the foundation with the knowledge that only someone with your bloodline could unlock its true power. But it's not just about money or influence, it's about control, Jessica. Complete control of the world." A chill ran down Jessica's spine as her breath caught in her throat. "Control? What are you talking about? My father he was just a businessman, a man who wanted to make a legacy. He never wanted—" "You're wrong," Lucas interrupted sharply, cutting her off. "Your father knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't just create an empire, he created a machine, Jessica. A machine that has the power to manipulate governments, control industries, and bend entire economies to its will. The Foundation is not just an organization, it's a global network that operates in the shadows. It influences everything from financial markets to international politics, and it's been growing in power for decades. And now, with you at the center of it all, they'll have everything." Jessica's head spun. "So, you're telling me my father built this monster, and I'm supposed to lead it?" Lucas shot her a quick glance, his expression pained. "I didn't want you to get involved in this, Jessica. I tried to keep you safe, but you're already in it. They know who you are, and they're not going to stop until they have you under their control." Jessica's heart was racing, a storm of confusion, fear, and anger swirling inside her. "I don't want any part of this. I never asked for this. No one does," Lucas said quietly. "But sometimes, the game chooses you, and in your case, it's already chosen." The car screeched to a halt outside an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The air was thick with tension, the streetlights casting long, eerie shadows on the pavement. Jessica's stomach churned as she looked out the window, sensing something terrible waiting just beyond the steel doors. "Why here?" Jessica demanded, her voice trembling. Lucas turned to face her, his expression grave. "This is where it all ends. We have to confront them now. The Foundation has been after you for too long. We can't run anymore. You need to know everything." She looked at him, unsure whether to trust him or not. Lucas had been by her side throughout this nightmare, but with every new revelation, every secret he revealed, she couldn't help but feel a gnawing doubt. Was he truly trying to protect her? Or was he just another piece in the Foundation's web, another player in a game she still couldn't fully comprehend? Before she could say anything, the sound of footsteps echoed through the dimly lit street. Two figures emerged from the shadows, moving swiftly toward the car. Jessica's heart skipped a beat. "Who are they?" Lucas's voice was tight with urgency. "They're part of the Foundation's inner circle. They're here to take you." The car doors flew open, and the men moved in with terrifying precision. One of them grabbed Jessica by the arm, pulling her out of the car, while the other kept a steady watch on Lucas, his eyes cold and unfeeling. "No," Jessica screamed, struggling against the man's grip. "Let me go," but it was no use. The man's hold was unyielding. "You don't have a choice anymore," he said, his voice like ice. "You're coming with us." Lucas sprang into action, grabbing the nearest man by the collar and throwing him against the car with a force that surprised even Jessica. But before he could react further, the other man swung a heavy fist, striking Lucas hard across the jaw. He stumbled back, his vision blurring, but he managed to regain his footing, glaring at the men. "Jessica, run!" Lucas yelled. For a split second, Jessica hesitated, fear gnawing at her, but she knew this was her chance. She broke free from the man's grip and ran toward the warehouse. The sounds of chaos behind her only pushed her forward, her legs burning with every step. She had to get inside, find the answers, and end this nightmare once and for all. As she reached the entrance, she threw open the door, the heavy steel door creaking in protest. The inside of the warehouse was dark, filled with shadows that seemed to stretch and grow as she ventured deeper into the unknown. She could hear footsteps behind her, the sound of pursuit close enough to make her heart race. She had no idea what she was walking into, but there was no turning back. The truth was waiting for her in the shadows of this forgotten place. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the sound of Jessica's footsteps echoed through the vast, empty space. She held her breath, straining to listen for any signs of movement. The warehouse was silent, save for the eerie hum of machinery she couldn't see. Jessica, the voice came from the darkness, low and steady. Jessica froze, her heart leaping in her chest. She knew that voice. Stepping out from the shadows was a man she hadn't seen in years, her father's closest confidant. The man who had always been there, guiding Marcus Barrington's empire. The same man who, until now, she had trusted without question. Her voice shook as she took a step back. "You're behind all of this," the man smiled, a cold, calculating expression. "I was hoping you'd come to that conclusion, Jessica. It's time for you to understand the truth." Jessica's stomach turned. "What truth? What have you done?" He stepped closer, his eyes gleaming in the dim light. "Your father's vision wasn't just about wealth, Jessica. It was about something far more dangerous. Something the world isn't ready for. The foundation is only the beginning, it's a tool, but you are the key to unlocking the full power of it." Jessica's head spun, the gravity of his words crashing down on her. "I don't want any part of this. I don't want to lead your foundation. I don't want to be your puppet." The man's smile faltered for a moment, before his expression hardened. "You don't have a choice. The foundation is a living thing, Jessica. It's already part of you. Your blood is its lifeblood. You'll either learn to control it, or you'll be destroyed by it." Her mind reeled as the walls seemed to close in. This man, this monster, was telling her that her father had planned for this moment from the very beginning. He had used her, manipulated her, and now she was trapped in the center of it all. She took a step back, her hands trembling. "What do you want from me?" His smile returned, more sinister than before. "We want you to join us, Jessica, lead us. Together, we will reshape the world." Just as Jessica was about to say something, the door to the warehouse crashed open, and Lucas stormed in, his eyes blazing with anger and determination. "No," he shouted, "you're not taking her." Before anyone could react, a gunshot rang out, echoing through the warehouse, and everything went dark.